Oh, no, that was Carmen's husband. I almost did that.
Call this regular council meeting to order. I want to welcome everyone who's in attendance tonight and also those who will be watching the meeting on G10 television. To begin with, we're going to start with the Pledge of Allegiance led by Council Member or Mayor Pro Tem Jerry Bittner, followed by the invocation by our City Attorney John Carter. Please rise.
Please recite with me. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Our Heavenly Father, we pause again to give you thanks. To give you thanks for this day, to give you thanks for our ability to live together in this city, and to give you thanks for all the blessings that you so graciously bestow upon us. You have gifted each of us to see the beginning of a new year. We pray that each of us would always keep you in our minds and our hearts as we approach the challenges and the possibilities that will come our way. But when we fail to do that, and we all will, please do not forget us. Keep us in your providence. Keep us in your protection. Bless our city, our citizens, and each of us. Bless our military personnel who are serving us here and around the world. Keep them safe. Bless their families. And as always, give your guidance and your direction to our mayor and to our council. All this we ask in your holy name. Amen.
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 All right, Council, you have a copy of the agenda. You've seen the agenda for tonight's meeting. I would entertain a motion to adopt the agenda.
So moved.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Next, we have our first section of public comment for the evening, and I have two people that have signed up for public comment. First, I have Scott Haber of 996 New River Drive. Mr. Haber.
Good evening, City Council. Good evening. First off, allow me to apologize for my last time I was up here in front of council. I know how that went was not correct the way that it should have went, and I apologize for that. Second at hand, I come to the council meeting tonight for the tenants of New River Town Center Apartments. As of this past Friday, we were left with no management, no grounds crew, no property manager, no maintenance, no nothing. There was no communication between Kev Properties and the tenants, and there was no communication as far as management and property managers to the tenants that they were just going to up and leave with no answers whatsoever. Our water has been turned off twice. I was informed that Kev Property owes more than $6,000 to the water company. They also owe Terminex money. I'm not sure the amount. I'm pretty sure they also owe sanitation. I come to you just with questions that we've been here before as far as Town Center is concerned. This is not the first time. Basically, you have tenants now that are living in Town Center that have no idea of what's going on or what our next step is. So I come to you to ask, where do we go from here? And I know this is a topic we've had before, and I was hoping I would not come back for this same situation, but I think I speak for the residents of Town Center. Either Kev or CRG need to change their ways, or they just need to wind up selling the property and go and get a legitimate company in there that can do something for the residents and for Town Center. Because as City Council knows, like I said, this is not the first time we've come in front of City Council for this problem. But now I seriously think it's worse than when Tarantino owned the property. At least when Tarantino owned the property, we didn't go through getting our water turned off or money being owed or whatever else. Ever since Kev took over, it's been one hurdle after another. Now, construction has been on hold for 2 months. They have not been able to move residents due to, supposedly, from what I hear, the city has said that they cannot move residents. And people are asking, where is our rent gonna be paid? So I'm asking City Council, I'm hoping I could get at least some answers on what the next step for Town Center is.
Like this.
Yes, sir.
City Manager, how much did you say that CIG owes?
Mayor, as of last week, it was actually over 60,000. That's a utility bill. And so that's your standard water and wastewater bill.
Wastewater, storm.
That's an approximate number, but that's just based on back bills that we've looked at from our dialogue with CIG and trying to work with them on the property.
How long was your ward off?
Luckily, it got turned off, I can't remember the day exactly, it was turned off at 11:30 in the morning, and it got turned back on, they were basically out there till almost 10, 11 o'clock that night, turning everybody's water back on. Like I say, council, you guys have known me, dealt with me, and, I wasn't gonna bring this up, but as me and my family, which are right back there, right now, we're not living in a, what you would call perfect apartment. We have a bug infestation that, Terminex has told the bug company that we cannot be moved under any circumstance. And people that we spoke to said they want $1,800 to do the treatment that needs to be done to get our apartment correct. And when I went to the property manager, Rick, and Marcy at the time, they told me under no circumstance will their company pay for it. Now, this is a situation that I have no control over it. I was not the one that did it. The bugs were in that apartment prior to us moving into that apartment. And my wife, you know, does not sleep at night because the bugs just crawl all over her. She does not sleep. She sleeps during the day. And my brother, I've walked into his room at night to either turn off his TV and whatever else, and they're crawling all over him. And I do feel them crawling on me as well. But I mean, I've dealt with it. I mean, really, I don't know what else to do. And I've reached out to Councilman Bryan, I've reached out to Kenyatta to try to get some services to help us pay that money so we can get this treatment done. But I have not gotten any responses back. And honestly, I commend myself for how I'm standing here because really I want to flip out, but it's not worth it. I just want to know what can be done for me and my family because I don't think it's right.
Mr. Haber, I know you stay across from the apartment. You used to stay in a
I used to live at 999 New River Drive. Now I live at 996 New River Drive.
And you said that that apartment across the street from you that you're in now was vacant for a period of time.
It was vacant under Tarantino, I would say, for about 6 months.
And you said Terminex actually said that they had.
It wasn't
came
only
in there.
Terminex. Mike Narensky told me to reach out to Modern to have them come out and give us a look over of the place. They came out and they said, from what they saw, the infestation was so bad that it was there more than a year. And we were not in that apartment a year until the end of November of last year. So it goes back to the previous people that lived in that apartment. They told the old property manager, Jenny, that it was supposedly fleas, and it was not. That was not the situation. And I was told by Jenny and Tarantino that supposedly over the time when the apartment sat, that supposedly the carpet was taken up, all new carpet, the apartment was cleaned out. Now, I sit at home every day with my door open, and I can look out through my screen door, and I can look right across to 996, and I never saw anybody there to do anything. And, you know, I look at it now as I'm one of the tenants that pay their rent on time or either early. And for me as a tenant to get treated this way, it's not fair. I mean, I've had a nervous breakdown. I was mentally put in a hospital on almost a 6 to 7 hour hold. My wife was there with me. Also, I was told by the previous property manager, Rick, in front of my wife, that he didn't care what happened with the property. He was planning to quit. He did not care what happens with the property. Those were his exact words. And I said to him, I said, as a property manager, you're telling me you don't care? How can you sit there and say that? And my other question is, how can you just sit there and, I'm not sure exactly the exact number of people that are still living in Town Center, but I know it's 70 units. How do you just leave us high and dry with no explanation, no nothing? I mean, when we call out to Norfolk, Virginia, which is their main office, all we get is an answering service. Oh, we'll call you back. And me and my wife have been sitting back more than a week and have not gotten a phone call back.
Let me say this, CIG has been giving us lip service. When Brett Reese was over construction, and we were making progress with Brett, but Brett eventually had a heart attack, and he decided to leave CIG. So since that's happened, I think they had said something about $100 assessment, $100 increase in rent if you can't lock in,
A new lease.
New lease, thank you, Scott. And they actually said a certain amount of money concerning the water bill as well, add that.
Yeah, if council would like to see, I have the portal in my phone, and they sent me the amount for February's rent. I can show that to city council if they would like to see that. It's $700 and almost $65. And I have not signed no new lease. And I'll be going on 3 years within Town Center, June 19th of this year. And I've had no new lease. All of a sudden, they come with this extra $100 charge for supposedly water, trash, and sewage. And, you know, like I said, I've seen nothing as far as a new lease for them to even be able to charge this extra $100. So when I paid my rent last month, I paid my normal amount, which was $650. My rent is $645 plus an extra $5 for my trash. So that brings it up to $650. So now there is a balance on my account of $59.99, and that's towards the extra $100 that I refuse to pay. I don't know,
When, city met with CIG, did they discuss any time that they were gonna actually have a conversation with the tenants at all?
Mayor, no, we haven't had that type of discussion with the members of CIG. Since we met and since they came to council, we've engaged with CIG about their project plans. Mr. Haber mentioned a couple of their challenges that CIG's mentioned. We've worked with, earlier today, we had 12 members of staff, including Mr. Massey, Mr. Carter, myself, joining in on the discussion to try and figure out what that plan is to move forward with CIG, trying to go through some of the standards that they'll have to accomplish. We have a meeting set up for this Thursday as well, but at no point have we talked to them about what their structure would be, because that's not something the city would deal with. We're only talking about the improvements on the property.
But one of the other issues is that, because they had their waters cut off. And I
and
know
it's
there,
gonna be cut off
and I know
again.
there's seniors over there.
Yes.
Other people with medical problems other than
Yes.
your family.
Yes.
So we're gonna face this again, and we're gonna have to figure out how we're gonna deal with this going forward. Because at the end of the day, the people that's getting penalized are the people that's paying the rent.
I'm gonna go on record and say, next month's rent, I'm letting it be known, I'm holding it back. I'm opening up an escrow account, and I'm gonna put my rent money in there until so we know what's going on, because one, the way that they have us paying our rent, I've never heard of it. I've never heard of rent being paid through a portal. I've never heard of getting a piece of paper and taking it to Walmart or to CVS to pay your rent. I've lived in other places where they either take a cashier's check, a money order, or whatever. Ever since this new company came in, they wanted no money trail whatsoever. So all I get every month is a confirmation number, but that doesn't tell me really where my money's going. I have no idea where it's going.
Let me ask you a question. Prior to all this, when you were paying your rent before, was your water included in that?
Yes, it's always been included in that.
Part of the rent. I want to ask the manager here a question. I know that we have certain regulations as far as weeds and grass and stuff like that, that present a, I guess, health hazard or conditions, unsuitable conditions. Is there any way that we could force their hand as far as making that, making them spray or having it sprayed and have it a lien attached to the property as far as payment of that?
Mayor, and this is where the city came in before. The council was engaged in this dialogue, if you remember, before this owner, that the properties were declared unsafe and not sanitary living conditions. And so that's the challenge for the 70 or so people that are still living there. If we go in and do those inspections, which we do have, Mayor, you're correct, for sanitary living conditions, then potentially those units could be uninhabitable. So at that point, then we would have people that would have to relocate to somewhere else.
I wouldn't want to go to that point, no.
Can,
But I'm just saying, is there any way that we could actually contract or cause that to be sprayed over there with the bugs like he was talking about there and put that as a lien on the property?
No, sir, I do not think so. It's private property. We certainly could have, again, as Mr. Reyes said, you could have code enforcement or Mr. Larson to go over and inspect. If found them uninhabitable, give them notice to do certain things. If they didn't, of course, they have the right at any time, according to Mr. Haber's own testimony, he's on a month-to-month basis. They could evict him at any time. It's a catch-22 situation. We have had an hour and a half or maybe 2-hour meeting last Thursday, starting at 3:30, and we'll be starting another 3:30 meeting with them this Thursday. We will bring all of these concerns to the lawyer who represents them, and we can work from that point. And there may become, whether it's at the first meeting in February or the second, we may want to do an attorney-client privilege, since there's legal counsel involved in both sides, and we can more fully and openly discuss all the issues as far as what the city can do and what we really can't do, because there's some things that we can't do, and you need to be aware of that as we move forward.
I have a question.
Go ahead.
I have a question. To what the city attorney just said. So am I to understand that it's my fault because the city will not allow me to sign a new lease? So because I'm on a month-to-month, they can come and just throw me out for a situation that is not that is out of my control?
No, the city's not going to make you sign or not sign a lease. I mean, that's not our,
I mean, that's
we
how
don't
I'm
have the authority.
understanding it.
The lease is between you and the owner of the property. We
We
have
don't
nothing
have
to
any
do with
authority
that.
to do that.
That, and if you want to, you can even, my wife can come up here and also contest to it. That's what we've been told, that the city will not let anybody in town center sign new leases.
Giving you some misinformation. But, yeah, that's not true.
I'm gonna say this, and I wasn't gonna go on record to say this, but I'm gonna say this. There's a lot of corrupt stuff going on with the town center right now, to the point where tenants don't know whether we're safe, we're not safe. I mean, JPD, I commend them on the job that they do, but to patrol a 90-acre property, not knowing where a lot of people are, it's out of their control. But I will say this, there are people breaking into these apartments. It is really unsafe in town center, and I think it's gonna get worse now that there is no property manager whatsoever out there. And I think honestly, I don't think they care. I think they see it as a tax write-off. They'll write it off and then sell the property like they do every year. This is not the first time, and this is sure not the last time. And I'm sorry to say, even if I was to have the city come out and inspect my apartment, I will not let them in because of the situation. I do not want them to deal with what I have to deal with. I don't even let the paramedics in my house. And my wife had to go to the hospital last week, and she had to wait outside for the paramedics because I will not let them in my house because the bug infestation is that bad. I can't have friends at my house. I can't go to church. I can't do nothing. I'm basically a prisoner in my own home. The only thing that I can do is go to the bank, go to the grocery store, and go to doctor's appointments. Right now, my brother is in a program. I haven't even told them. But the minute they find out, they're gonna pull him out. And we are all diagnosed with depression. Me and my wife, we sit at home every day, depressed. They pull my brother out of this program, I'm gonna have, excuse my choice of words, hell on my hands. Mr. Mayor, City Council, I don't need that. I'm here begging on my knees. Something needs to be done. As you guys know, this is not the first time that I've been in front of you guys. But this is me, literally. Something needs to be done. This cannot be brushed under the table anymore.
I totally agree with you.
Question, Mr. Ray. Typically, when a user or an occupier of a property doesn't pay their water bill, we turn it off. And of course, the incentive is to get them to pay the bill, the past due, so that they can, and their house is unoccupiable. During that time, there was no water. This is a little different situation. If town center folks don't pay the water bill, they don't suffer. They have no incentive to turn that water back on. The people that suffer are the ones who occupy the building. So turning the water off, to me, is not productive at all. It's not, in fact, it's somewhat counterproductive. All we've done is made somebody else suffer for somebody else's problem, and they're not going to be able to address it. They've already paid their water bill to town center. So I'm not sure it's fair that we can turn that water off. I mean, that may be the law, but I'm just saying from a strictly ethical, moral situation, that is not right. And I don't want to see us turn the water off again. I mean, I'm just one person up here, I'm just saying.
Mayor,
To
I'll tell
me,
you-
it does, I can't take that and say, I'm doing my job. If we're turning the water off for somebody they've already paid their water bill, they paid at the town center. So we've got to figure out some other way of getting town center's attention rather than cutting off the water to his place.
Yeah, Mayor, and I tell you, we agree with the situation that's created, and that's on our, that's when you have someone that installs a master meter system. And so earlier, like Mr. Haber pointed out, there are multiple meters on the property. There's 694 units on the property. There are master meters, there are solo meters. Some properties, approximately 20, have single meters, so therefore, if those units didn't pay, you would shut those off like a single-family residence. Some master meters have 20 units, some have 33. They have differing numbers. So if they're not able to move people to buildings that would have full amenities that have been upkept, then individual people are living in those buildings. We have this situation in any development where you're going to have a master meter. A lot of times when we have new builds, we tell people, you know, you're going to have this issue down the line if you have a problem with the water bills individually. The challenge for us as a utility is when we have master meters like this, where people do not want to pay to install on the front end the individual meters, then on the back end, they have to manage it. What happens is if one customer doesn't pay $60,000, then the other customers on the utility end up having to subsidize and have to pay that fee to keep that utility operating. That's the only challenge. It's a business account, and we can't disagree with your comment, Mr. Warden. It is spot on to the point of if the water's turned off, then it creates a situation where that residence should not have someone living in it as well, because that's not sanitary in itself. So you're losing your water and your wastewater operations at that point. So it creates bigger issues, and
Right, and
those are one of the issues we're going to talk to them on Thursday about, exactly like Mr. Havers pointed out.
We're on record of not wanting to create any homelessness. I mean, why would we want to create homelessness? Why would we want to create an unlivable house? It's very frustrating for me to sit here, and I know that we have responsibilities, legal responsibilities we have to go to, but to me, making a house, we're adding to the problem. Here we are, we're trying to correct a problem, fix a problem, and all we're doing is making it worse. I'm not picking on y'all as individuals. I know that you believe the same thing I'm saying. But I'm just saying from institutional, let's don't hide behind our institutional walls and say this is what we've got to do. Let's talk about where, if we were individuals, what would we want if we were on the other side? So I don't want us to make a problem worse. Now he's got another problem. He's got the bug problem.
Bob, if I can add to that real quick, and we were told point blank to our face that we cannot move until the situation is done. So our hands are tied.
What do you mean you can't move? I'm not sure
We
I
were told by
understand
the
that.
bug people that the infestation is so bad that under
they
no
can't-
circumstance, they will not recommend they move us either into another unit or us to go into any other apartment until this bug situation is
That
taken
bug
care of.
problem is to that individual unit. It's not to you.
Exactly.
So why can't you be moved to another
Because
unit?
I will not be able to take any of my stuff.
You can't take that.
Treat it before they can take any of their stuff out.
Treated. And they want that to come out of my pocket.
Are there no funds available somewhere that we can give this man some relief?
Tracy, in that, the money that we set aside for relocating people, is there a balance left in that?
There is a balance of about $10,000 left for that, but it has to be COVID related to prevent the spread of COVID.
Well, bugs, they spread COVID, so there you go. That's how you justify that. There's so many other things have been done justifying COVID spending. Why can't we show some heart and take care of this man's problem and call it COVID? I don't care what we call
A
it.
fund, a grant, something we can pull from.
Is it COVID relief or is it ARPA funding?
It is the COVID relief funding.
Do we have any
money reserved in ARPA funding, that we could not use that in this particular situation to mitigate homelessness?
Mayor, the council basically allocated our ARPA funds for our sewer transmission line, and we're still short on that one. But back to Mr. Warden's comment, if council takes an action on creating something, then staff can implement that program. The challenge with the mitigation here is the units are connected to other facilities. So there's things that the property owner has to do. It's not the relocation. We would have a better plan of purchasing new items and helping transition to another location. That's not the issue. The mitigation is, it's not something that the city does in one instance and doesn't do for others throughout the community. That's the challenge for us. So
Let me say this. CIG came in here, thought they were going to benefit off of the rents going up for the military. They saw that, they can't complete all the units they have to complete. So it would be a favorable place for the military to actually start recommending that they could come out here. So what they're doing is they assess the folks there that don't have a lease, an active lease, it's going month to month, $100 plus money now, extra money to subsidize them actually to pay the water. How much is the water bill every month?
I would have to guesstimate. I don't know that.
Yeah, because what I see is they're putting the residents in a place where they're going to have to move out. Because if they're having the water cut off, they know the result of what's going to happen. So, I mean, even if we assess them more for this issue, they're just not going to pay the water. Then we're going to have to make a move as a result of putting the attendance house is going to fall back on us again in taking that action. One of the things I brought up a while back, and we're going to have to figure out how to start doing this, we're going to have to address the housing issue when it comes to low-income housing and income-based housing or workforce housing. Because if we don't, we're going to have bigger problems. I've lived in bigger cities. I've seen other cities where homelessness is growing. And we have never dealt with that, over time, dealing with that New River area. And I know it goes back to the 90s when some folks was trying to put forth the effort to start addressing that. So now we're at that rainy day, and if we don't start looking at, actually, they say we can act as a housing authority to choose a group to actually build housing. I know there are other organizations that's been effective with doing that in the area and beyond the area. So I think we need to start having conversations with some of those community development corporations that's actually doing that to see what we can do going forward. But we got to have a larger conversation about housing. Because if not, we're going to many can, actually say that they're seeing these populations grow in the woods now. I know a few folks that actually go out and do some of the counts, and they're seeing the population of homelessness in this area. And it's going to get ridiculous. So we're going to have to be intentional about having this conversation. Because if we don't, town center issue is not going to be the biggest issue we're going to have to deal with. And then we're going to have to figure out I don't know how the cities is handling a similar situation. I know we had talked to an organization out of Charlotte that's going to lend you guys a hand. So, I say follow up with that young lady.
We have, the young lady was in our house yesterday, and she's the one that's requiring the $1,800 to treat our apartment.
No, I'm talking about the person that actually, the housing advocate.
Oh, I never talked to a housing
Okay.
advocate.
It's April Lewis.
Oh, okay, April, yes.
Yes, okay.
I wasn't, sorry, Brian, I wasn't sure who you were talking about.
So I would say follow up with her.
Okay. Also, I would like to let city council know, if they don't remember, like Brian said, homelessness is definitely not a joke. And you're looking at a person that's been homeless more than 10 times. And that's a fear that me and my family live with every day. When I lay down in my bed at night, and my wife looks at me and says to me, "You're the best thing that I have," and I look back at her and tell her, "No, I'm not. I'm a failure. I can't even provide a decent home for my wife and my brother. So how am I the best thing that happened to her? I'm a failure." Because I came to Town Center believing that it was gonna be an awesome place to live. And now I'm infested up to wazoo where you're at the top of the mountain screaming, yelling for help. And it's like, I just don't know what to do anymore. I just really do not know what to do anymore. I mean, I suggested this a while back before they even took over the complex, that they needed to keep the tenants in the loop. And it went in one year and it went right back out the other. Nobody in Town Center but me got the heads up that Rick was gonna quit. Nobody. And I'm sorry to say, as a Town Center resident, and for all the other residents that are still living out there, we're being treated like we're trash. And it's not fair. This is me trying to hold back as much of my composure that I can hold back. But I'm telling you, standing up here, it's not easy. Because not only one company did it to us, now another company. What is it gonna take for this problem to get rectified? I don't think this company has the right to do what they want with us. I think they just see it as a money issue, and that's it. I personally think they need to go. We need to get a company that's gonna do right by Town Center and by their residents. And if we don't do that, I hate to say it, the atom bomb is gonna drop in the middle of Town Center and it's gonna blow up. And there's gonna be nothing that the city council can do, and there's gonna be nothing that the residents can do.
Mr. Ray, excuse me, sir. How many residents do we currently have living out in Town Center right now?
There's about 70, handful plus or minus, Dr. Washington.
And are all 70 residents without water?
No, ma'am, everybody has water service as of
Right now,
as
but
of
it's
now.
gonna be cut off at the end of the month, I guarantee it.
Units, so it's more than 70 residents.
Correct. Yeah, there could be 2, 3 people inside of the units. We don't have a tracking on those numbers, Dr. Washington, so that'd be the units out of the 694, 70 units plus or minus is that. And everybody, as of this week, has water service, but as Mr. Haber said, if those bills aren't satisfied, the information I sent out before, where those get cut off after non-payment, that's the standard process for how we move through it.
So are we going to be developing a strategic plan in terms of what happens at the end of the month if the water is cut off? How do we help the
Yes, ma'am.
residents?
So Thursday, now we don't have any kind of knowledge about the changing of the property manager. So we haven't heard that, but we have been active with members of their team, and Thursday, the afternoon meeting on Thursday, we have with their team to go over a number of issues that they have going on. Utilities is one major issue. So we've already drafted some options for them for how they could change their metering system, potentially talking about the strategy of moving individuals into units where they could master meter those people that are still there, active tenants. Mr. Haber's situation is a little different than some of their other tenants, so there's a challenge there. But we've developed strategies for them to help and give them options. But outside of that, that's nothing that we control how they operate their facilities outside of them paying their bills.
Say this, I want to be in that meeting.
So do
I will
I.
ask them
So
a
do
few
I.
questions.
I
Well,
want to be in that meeting.
as your
I have
representative,
rights to be in that meeting.
Scott, as your representative, I'll be in that meeting. We can talk beforehand, but I would like to
Brian,
be in
I'm
that
sorry to
meeting.
step over your toes, bruh, but it's gone on too long. I cannot be on the outside looking in anymore. I can't. I can't take what the toll that it's taking on my family. I can't take the toll that it's taking on the residents of Town Center. I can't. I cannot sit back anymore. Like I said, this is not the first time that I've been up in front of city council for this same situation. I've sat back, I've been silent, I've been quiet, I haven't made any waves, but now I cannot sit back and be a silent partner. I cannot. There is no way I could allow myself as a human being, as a husband, as a brother, that could sit back and be silent anymore. I have to be involved.
Mr. Ray,
Go ahead.
playing devil's advocate, what happens if the attorney doesn't show up on Thursday?
Well, Dr. Washington, one thing is, so last week when we met with them, we had a great meeting with their new general contractor, their on-site manager, and their attorney. So that meeting we handled. This week, same scheduled type of meeting to go over this. But if their whole team doesn't show up, then we just make contact with them, Dr. Washington, and express our concerns about the issues that we know and the ones that have been brought to our attention. I can't tell you a next step after that, except for us communicating with them what we know to be true.
What I would like to do is communicate with them either so I can talk with them. It would be great if they talked to their residents like they did when they first came here, but I don't know if they're willing to do that. But at least I would like to sit down with them because we're going to have to, this has to be dealt with.
Brian,
I'm
can I
not
say
talking about,
this?
excuse me, Scott. I'm not talking about in terms of, I understand what you're talking about lawyers when you're dealing with attorney-client privilege, but at a point, and I'll reach out to them myself. We have to go forward with this. You know, if I gotta meet them after the meeting when they show up.
The meeting on Thursday is at the request of their attorney. The request is because of the water bills. You have to understand how it works. They got well over 600 units out there.
I get that.
They have 70 units that are occupied. They're dispersed throughout those 600. They're not all in one corner or one place or whatever. Nobody wants to move, and some folks can't move or whatever. They have master meters that may serve 3 or 4 buildings, and there's only one person in those 3 or 4 buildings. So the water doesn't get paid for whatever reason. Now, that's up to them. They have paid well over $21,000 in fines or penalties for not paying their water bill. So it's not a free ride for them, and that's why they brought to us and said, we want to sit down and talk about ways that we can move forward so that we don't have this situation arise again where the water's going to be cut off. So again, this meeting is at their request. Now, in addition to talking about the water bills, we're going to be talking about construction issues, ADA issues, stormwater issues. I mean, the whole litany. Like I said, it was a 2-hour meeting, but again, this is a process. It's nothing that's going to be easy with that many units.
I'm going to be snarky and say, I can tell you how they can avoid the fines and how they can avoid the problem by paying their bills. The money that they've collected from the residents was paid in good faith.
Council, can I say this? Because I'm about to crumble up here, so I'm going to have to step down in a minute. I just would like to say this. I appreciate how much you guys are trying. They honestly don't want nothing to do with the property. It's the same old thing that it's been every year. They come in, I've talked to people that have lived in the property before me, and I have a very, very close friend that lived on the complex before I did. And she told me, Town Center goes through this every year, where a new owner or a new property manager or whatever comes onto the property. As soon as they collect whatever they can collect in taxes or whatever it is that they can collect, they sell it and it goes on to become somebody else's problem. Council, please, I beg you, don't wash your hands of this. Do not turn your back to this. This is a problem that is not going away. It's not. Dr. Washington, Brian, and everybody else sitting up here, you guys know that this is not my first time up here. You know this. Hold on, baby. But like I said, it's not gonna.
They're paying for the bug infestation.
It's not gonna be done. It's not gonna be done. This has to be, like Brian said, has to be taken on head on. This has to be top priority. It cannot go unheard no more. It cannot.
I forgot your last name, I apologize. I know, and I'm speaking for myself, but I'm aware, we have city staff vested in this, we have city attorney vested in this council has been vested, so we're not going away, we're not giving up. Sometimes there are things government can do, and there are things government cannot do. There is a private sector, and there are other options. Sometimes the best thing we can do with an immediate problem, like the one you're facing, is connect the dots with a private organization who can help with funding or services. So, Mr. Ray, I will follow up with you tomorrow, and Ms. Tracy, if at all possible, we'll see what we can do to connect some private resources with the situation you have, because government simply, our hands are tied on some things. We can't do everything for everyone, but this is inhumane. It's not okay, and it needs to be dealt with. So let us see if we can try to connect you with a resource that can help more directly and more immediately.
Thank you very much, council.
Mr. Nareski's you're actually going to speak too, correct?
I didn't write anything down, I got tied up, but
Bring him
if I
up.
get a minute.
Mr. Haber, thank you for coming tonight and
Thank you for
sharing that
listening.
with us.
Sorry I didn't sign the sheet, I apologize. I'm Michael Nareski, Director of Human Power U. In reference to Scott, and I'll be quick about it, okay? Yes, it's been an ongoing situation. The biggest problem that's going on there is that up until a point, everything they were doing correctly, and then things fell off the wayside. They were supposed to go straight and they made a left-hand turn. I can't answer why. But I do know this, there are 69 families currently that are still there. Of the 69 families, I can tell you this, 65 of them are on Medicaid. Of those 65 families, 64 of them are directly with Trillium. So if you know what Trillium is, we know the problem that we have with the individuals and the families that are there. There are 149 people that are actually there within those families, okay? And Scott's situation, I just told Dottie, okay? Scott qualifies for the HOP program, which is the Healthy Opportunities Program, because of his Medicaid and where he's at. We will start the paperwork we already had that we can get Scott, we're gonna work on moving Scott completely out of town center and his family. The HOP will pay for a security deposit, his first month's rent and his last month's rent. That's the state program, okay? So we're gonna get him involved with that. The problem is that all of his belongings in his house, because I had another group come in, and the only way to get rid of what he has in his house is to do what they call a heat. And they're gonna bring a trailer in, bring everything up to 190 degrees, they put everything in a trailer. That'll get rid of the situation, okay? That will give him his belongings. This process may take, because the only dilemma that we have currently is finding a place. We can get the security deposit, and even if it's $1,000 a month, doesn't matter. But we have to be able to get him a place that he can sustain month to month and make that payments, and I know where that limit's at. So we're putting that already together. In reference to the management, KEV, that's owned by CIG, because I spoke to all of them, okay? And Rick informed me that he was leaving, he was the last manager. They all quit. Their maintenance crew all quit except for 2 people. It all happened within the last 2 weeks. They did it because they weren't happy with what CIG was doing. And I speak that truthfully because I spoke to the individuals directly. And some of them, I apologize to people in here because I was an advocate for CIG in the beginning because they were doing the right things. They were taking care of the people, and then after Brett took the heart attack, everything went wrong. And there was a massive change, and whatever that was, that's their own business decision. But I can tell you, we're still there every day. We're in the community every day. We're working with people every day. We'll resolve Scott's situation, but our biggest problem is, and I hope City Council will look at it sooner, and I know that they will. We keep saying affordable housing. Our problem is not affordable housing. Our problem is low-income housing. And if we don't do something, we're going to wind up with all these families that are currently there. Where are we going to put them? We've been able to, over the last 4 months, move 28 families out of New River to different locations. But I can't find anything else. I just don't know where to find it at for the price break that they're at. I wish that I could tell you. And I talked to every realtor, every management group, every organization, okay? Most people in this room I've had conversations with in reference to it, all right? We just don't have places for people to go. And when we do find a place, it may be in Richlands. And they don't have transportation. Because these individuals don't have cars. Okay? And that's the other problem that we have within the city limits. So, you know, I got to commend Scott for keeping his control. It's a big thing for him to do that, okay? So I just wanted to let you know what I knew to be factual, where we stood, okay? And listen, I know, I owned up in the middle of, down there and put a place in the middle of that place to help the people, only to find out that they didn't do the right thing by me either. So I know, okay? So that's all I have to say. Thank you very much for your time.
I tell everybody that's here for the meeting tonight that if you do need transportation, there is one of our city buses parked over here at First Bank in case you need that. That is available, so. Anybody? Okay, so now, I got Mr. Brian Standridge, 1099 Gun Branch Road.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I'll be brief. I'm here tonight representing Conley Construction Group out of Charlotte, North Carolina. We've actually been contracted through Living Water Christian School to start the process for building a 7,200 square foot addition to the school property because of growth in our community, which is a great thing. I'm actually a resident in Jacksonville. I live over in Northwoods. And so I'm super excited to be able to partner with the school on this project. And what I'm here for tonight is basically to extend an informal invitation. You guys will also receive emails with more of a formal update. But February 9th, we're going to be doing basically a ceremonial groundbreaking. It will not, I spoke with Mr. King, it's not going to be an official groundbreaking because we haven't fulfilled all of the obligations to the city planning department yet, but it is going to be more of a ceremonial. It's going to get the school boosted, get them motivated, get the church that's there, Calvary Church at Living Water, excited and behind the program and what's going on there. So that's pretty much what I was here for this evening. Thank you guys very much.
Thank you so much, Mr. Standridge. Go ahead.
Yes, ma'am.
What time on the
It's
9th?
going to be February 9th at 1 p.m.
1 p.m. Thank you, sir.
And in the email, I'll add the address and everything.
Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Next, we have a presentation that will be made, and I got to go back here to my machine here. And I'm going to ask Dr. Angela Washington and Councilmember Cindy Edwards if you would go down front and make this presentation for us.
Mayor, if there's any members of the community that would like to join you up here in the center so we could do the presentation, encourage everyone to join the two council members here in the center. This is for our National Day of Racial Healing. And so I encourage everybody that wants to participate, please come up. Excellent opportunity in case any members of our youth council want to be a member. If not,
People still coming. Okay, all right. On behalf of the mayor and the Jacksonville City Council and the citizens of the city of Jacksonville, this is a auspicious occasion that we are gathered today in council chambers to recognize and give homage to the National Day of Racial Healing. Racial healing has different connotations to different ethnic groups, different religious groups. Racial healing has different connotations to schools of education and communities in which we live and we work and we commune every day. So in standing with the National League of Cities, who will convene in Washington, D.C., not only for today and tomorrow to have a 2-day event in recognition of National Day of Healing, the city of Jacksonville stands with the National League of Cities in delivering a proclamation, a historic proclamation to the city of Jacksonville. And it reads as such: The City of Jacksonville, North Carolina proclamation. Whereas racial healing is a process for celebrating our common humanity, acknowledging truth from our shared history, and recognizing our collective potential. And whereas in 2017, the National Day of Racial Healing originated as part of the W.K. Kellogg Foundation National Truth, Racial Healing, and Transformation efforts, calling to action racial healing of all people. And whereas racism affects all members of the community, regardless of our background and our circumstances, to ensure our communities are free of systemic racism, we must come together to explore how our past actions has created present inequities in our systems. And whereas the responsibility belongs to all of us to participate in these honest, powerful, and moving experiences and to pursue this racial healing journey together. And whereas on this day, individuals, organizations, communities across the United States come together to explore their common humanity and to build relationships necessary to create a more just and equitable world. Now, therefore, I, Councilwoman Dr. Angela J. Washington, on behalf of our Mayor, Sammy Phillips, and the Jacksonville City Council, do hereby proudly proclaim Tuesday, January the 17th, 2023, as National Day of Racial Healing in the City of Jacksonville and encourage our citizens to observe the day in ways to appropriate its significance and in the lives of our community. With the direction of our Mayor, Sammy Phillips, oh, there you are, come on up. With the direction of our Mayor, Sammy Phillips, let me just say, I have proudly stood beside you or sat beside you for the past 12 years on this council, and when it comes to the healing of this community, this concerted effort is more than you probably cannot imagine. It takes boldness in a political climate in which there is so much dissension. And at least on this accord, in this very moment in history, the City Council has united its efforts and to stand with the people and to let them know that even though you may not understand our past atrocities and the discrimination that we go through, at least standing with us gives us the confidence that we can win this war on racial discord and have racial harmony throughout our city. So I congratulate you, Mayor. Thank you.
I'd like to personally thank all of the organizations that are represented here. We reached out to you in a pretty short-term turnaround, and you managed to get your folks here. We want to let you know that if your organization is represented here tonight, if you will make sure we know you're here before you leave, you will receive a copy of this proclamation for your own office or headquarters or whatever makes appropriate use for your organization. But we want you to walk, you won't get it tonight, but I promise you will get one in short order, a copy that you can post in your location as well. Thank you.
And if we get a good picture, you'll get a copy of the picture.
There you go.
Everybody tighten up.
We're gonna have to squeeze everybody in.
Come on, ladies.
It's a professional meeting. You gotta get Mr. Bittner.
Come on up. You have to get Mr. Bittner.
Squeeze in, everybody squeeze in.
Oh, let me turn the proclamation around. Oops.
There you go.
Okay, here's Lisa. Camera. I'll do my best. We got a professional now.
Thank everybody for coming tonight. I just got three things to say. My city, our city, one city.
You can sit there, we can switch, I can be Mr. Bittner. I don't know if you want me to be though.
You may be, step down with you.
I did want to point out too that Dr. Washington, who was just re-elected to the Board of Directors with the National League of Cities, also is on the Civic Affairs Committee, as well as Councilmember Cindy Edwards, who made the initial presentation, are both members of the Civic Affairs Committee. So now we have adoption of the minutes and consent items, minutes from a January 3rd workshop meeting, and we have 3 consent items.
Move for the adoption of the minutes and the consent items as listed.
Second.
That motion and second, any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? First item on non-consent is ordinance directing the code enforcement team officials to have the structure at 208 and 212 New Bridge Street demolished and removed. And
Good evening, Mayor, Council, staff. In 2021, the Jacksonville Fire Department conducted a state-mandated periodic fire inspection at 210 New Bridge Street and deemed the building unsafe due to severe roof damage. I know the council is familiar with this situation. This is the building just down the street from the outside, just so you can see what we're talking about. The building has 3 units, 208, 210, and 212. It had severe damage. This is an aerial view of the roof. So the pinpoint is the roof that we're talking about. It is attached to another building at some point. And then this is a still from a drone video that we took. As you can see, there's no roof at part of the building, and it all has collapsed inside the walls of the building. The AC unit is about to fall in. You look on your left, the facade, some of the bricks have even fallen off onto the neighboring property. So this, as you can see in the photos, there's just a lot of damage. There's a lot of structural issues that we're very concerned with regarding safety. So in September of 21, the fire department, the fire inspection report stated it had been deemed unsafe and was sent to the building owners, and we asked for remedies. We asked for an evaluation by a certified engineer, securing permits for repairs, or for demolition of the building. The owner understood the requirements and expressed their desires to repair it. The owner, after no movement, we had a hearing on August 31st, 2022. The owner wasn't present, but they had a contractor present via video from California, Ricky Graham. He was representing her. During the hearing, Mr. Graham agreed with staff that restoration would exceed the max value of the building in its dilapidated state, and that demolition was the best option. So the finding of facts were sent on September 1st, 2022, directing them to provide an engineer's report demonstrating the safety precautions for demolition. This, again, knowing where the location of this building is, this is quite a project. So not only demolition, but we needed to know what their safety precautions were, what they were going to do to prevent damage to other buildings, to the public, and so on. As of today, no such provisions have been provided by the owner, and the building remains a severe damage to the public. So this is a very large block constructed building attached to others. And again, because of its size and location and concerns during demolition, city crews are not going to be able to take care of this building. We don't have the staff, the equipment, and frankly, the knowledge of completing a project of this magnitude. So the estimated cost for demolition is unknown at this time. There's too many variables, but more than likely it's gonna probably exceed over $100,000. Because of this dangerous, dilapidated state and non-compliance and no action from the owner, code enforcement is requesting an order from city council to have the building demolished and removed. Within your order, the attached says within 90 days, but we are asking, because of the severity of the issue, that we reduce that to 30 days to have it done. So we have been able to look at some engineering. We have talked to some outside construction to get some estimates on what this is going to take. But at this time, that's what we're asking that council move to approve this order. That's all I have. If you have any questions for me, I'd be glad to answer that. We also have Danny Bryan here from the building official, and Brian Kelly from the fire department that initiated the inspection.
I have a question, sir. Do you believe that with this demolition, you're going to have to worry about asbestos
So we've-
abatement?
I'm sorry.
Do you believe that this building contains asbestos and you're going to have to deal with asbestos abatement as part of your demolition?
So we have some of that information. We have some reports saying there is. We have some reports saying there isn't. Basically, what we're saying at this point is there is very minimal asbestos in this building, and we do have a remediation process that's going to be able to take care of that. Basically, they're going to take it down, and we're going to control the air around it when it comes down because of the minimal amount that's going to be introduced.
Have you talked to the neighbors that would be affected by this?
Yes, sir. In fact, Mr. Sosa, Mr. Trevor Avery, who owns the law firm that used to be Jeff Miller's up front, he's here this evening to speak, if you want to hear from him, in support of this ordinance. But yes, we have talked to the neighbors. George Collins's office, which actually runs from Court Street all the way back to the alley, now it's owned by Matt Raymond and some others, and I have actually talked to Little Matt, I call him, and made him aware of this. I think his dad actually owns it, and there are actually bricks that have fallen on that particular building. Just a couple of other things, and then I don't know if Mr. Avery wants to speak or not. We did do some, or Pam Trafton of Community Development Engagement did some calls and kind of called out to different folks, and it did range from anywhere from $40,000 to $140,000. Because of all the issues involved here, including air quality, with all that kind of brickwork coming down, because of the asbestos issue, which we've had 2 or 3 folks look at it, we believe we can take it down, except for the tile. We definitely know there's asbestos in the tile, and so forth. We believe, as Jason said, it's going to be over $100,000. Just for the record, I want you to know that Mr. Ricky Graham, according to one of the documents, and I intentionally had Jason to attach Mrs. Dickerson's response to his hearing to your agenda. I don't know if you got to read that or not. If you did, you can see she's Moorish, et cetera, and so forth. This is not an action against her. This is an action, what we call in rem. It's against the property to take it down. But Mr. Graham, who was on the conference call, he actually spoke. He said, I know it needs to come down. So from his perspective, as a trustee, he had no question, at least, and we have that from him. But Ms. Juanita Oliver, who actually signed for the receipt of service for this hearing tonight, she's a trustee, is listed on some of these documents too. Mercedes Dickerson is the one who has been the principal. It was her mother, Ms. D, who ran the seamstress shop out of this particular building for many years, and it goes back with a long history. Because of all the issues and so forth, we've had Nick Lanier, who I don't think he's here tonight. I told him he didn't have to come. He has passed his engineering test and actually will soon be, I think, your city engineer. But we wanted to have some specific requirements drawn up because of all the issues that I've already gone over as far as so that all the bidders on this would be operating from the same bids, because, you know, whether you deal with asbestos, air quality, et cetera, so they'll know they have to keep it wet, et cetera, probably have to be done on a Sunday morning. So all kind of things that would be involved here and so forth. But Nick's working on those specifics of the bid documents. And he actually sent us an email, and one of the things, like Jason said, there's a typo. We talk about 160A, and we've told you that's now 160D. So on the ordinances, we've changed that. And also to move it down to 30 days. The state law requires them at least to be given 15 days, but we think 30. It would take us that long because what we intend to do is to get Nick's specifications and then go out to bid with those specifications, and then, let's say, 1 month from today or a month and a half from today, or whatever your next meeting is, to come back to council with a bid document saying this is the lowest responsive bidder for you to approve and to do a budget amendment to cover those costs. But I did want to read, because Nick's a little concerned, and Mr. Warden will understand more about this. He says, most structural masonry walls, he says this is built out of clay brick. Most today are used in constructing a CMU, concrete masonry unit, that are filled with rebar and grout. Because of the height of this building, which is over 20 feet, because the only thing that, in his thought, that was holding it together was that roof structure, which you saw has already collapsed, that this not only would have a hurricane take it down, but any kind of strong storm could take it down. So it is a safety issue that council has to address here. And of course, what would happen is that if you pass the ordinance and they do nothing, which we do not expect, I have talked to Mrs. Dickerson Mercedes on a couple. She has been in Malaysia a couple of times, but I've used the WhatsApp for anybody who wants to know what that's about. But that's calling overseas. But I've talked to her on 2 occasions, but she's kind of gone silent on me now. I've sent emails to her and got no response and so forth. I don't think she has the ability to do anything. She has good intentions in her heart, and this was her building. She wanted to do et cetera, and good things with it, but it's just in such a state of repair, I don't think that can even be accomplished now. But again, would move forward to bring it back to you in about a month and a half. We'll be actually bidding it out during this 30-day period of time, so we won't be delaying, because Nick didn't want us to do anything, so that we can have it ready for you to see what the lowest responsive bidder is, and also to do a budget amendment for that amount. I know I was going to say, the tax office puts a 0 for the building, which is appropriate. 7,000, yes, which is in your agenda, $840 for the land. So again, you're going to have a lien on the land, which we will file after it's all said and done, if it goes the way we anticipate it to be, that will be on the land. And I know Mr. Warden's smiling, but the land's just not going to be worth what it's going to cost to take this down. Mayor, I would like you just to inquire if Mr. Avery wanted to say anything, since he has taken an hour and a half out of his to be here tonight. But he's certainly been in support of us in moving forward here.
Council, Mr. Brown, just asking that you honor the request and make this an expedited process if possible. I own the building when you first bring to the right. The street address is 636 Court Street. I have 2 other attorneys that attend there, and we all have staff, and we're all trying to make this work. We have the adjacent wall, and I have very little doubt that the dilapidation, which is far greater than your last drone picture, suggests the roof is effectively totally gone now. And it fallen to the building inside was probably 10 feet directly in the middle. And I have very little doubt that there was already structural damage to my building. I think the water, as it inundates this structure, flows underneath mine. And I have soft flooring. I have sheetrock pulling off the wall of the adjacent wall. And I know that Mr. Collins' old building is probably suffering similar results. As fast as we can get this process done, looking forward to it before hurricane season would be optimal. We were lucky this year. It was keeping up nights. We survived, though. I don't know that we're going to get this lucky this year, so we can get this done. I greatly appreciate it. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
And you might inquire, Mayor, to see if anyone's here to speak on behalf of the property owner, but to my knowledge, no one is here.
Anybody? Okay.
Thank you.
Mr. Mayor, I move that we approve the proposed ordinance with the 2 edits to the time frame and the typo.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor and Council.
This is item number 5 on tonight's agenda, and this is a unified public hearing on a unified development ordinance text amendment dealing with landscape standards to eliminate stormwater device fencing requirements. And Ryan King will be presenting this. Ryan?
Good evening, Mayor, City Council. As we talked with you last year in September, November, we have taken council's concerns into advisement, and we have drafted some revisions to our Unified Development Ordinance. As we told you previously, planning staff wants to eliminate the required fencing around stormwater devices. Still would be an option. The reason for that is our litigation concerns because of the preemptive case. Primarily, concerned about liability, public safety, aesthetics, and the cost. As I mentioned, the preemption case due to the Green versus the City of Winston-Salem case. The stormwater rules basically are state rules and they're adopted by the city, and it doesn't have a fence requirement in there. I think the biggest thing here is, based on all the information that we talked with council about previously, we have created some standards, which you can find in the attachment 5, the second page of that, under number 5, that we looked at some sites and we didn't want to put a definitive number. We talked about, 250, 300, 400 feet, because we recognized there were some sites that actually may be closer than that, but yet is screened by a building. So we felt it would be best to basically create, like we have in other parts of the ordinance, that the decorative fencing would be required unless it meets one of the exemptions, and that would be equally applied to all similar situations. But basically, if the required decorative fencing would be ineffective due to topography of the site and or the location of the improvements, we would not require the decorative fence. And if it's not visible from any public or private street, it would not be required. And one of the ones that came to the mind of us that would be a much closer dimension would be Bobby Morton's development there on Carmen Avenue, I believe it is, in Henderson, in front of the Altitude Trampoline Park. There's a detention pond that sits right behind those buildings that if we had a hard, fast rule of so many feet, we would be required to make that decorative if it came forth today. But yet it's shielded by the building, so versus having a set, linear foot from the street, we wanted to give us a little bit more flexibility to apply the code. So that's the way that we prepared this amendment based on the feedback that council gave us back in November. And with that being said, I'll be happy to answer any questions that the council may have.
Council, any questions of Ryan? Thank you, Ryan.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, council.
All right, so we have a required public hearing in this matter. So at this time, I'll recess the regular council meeting and open up the public hearing. Anyone wish to speak to this item, please acknowledge by raising your hand. I don't see any hands, so we're going to close the public hearing. Council, you're being asked to consider the Unified Development Text Ordinance Amendment.
Mr. Mayor, I make a motion that we approve the Unified Development Ordinance Text Amendment found in Attachment A. And this amendment does advance the public interest by eliminating litigation concerns due to conflicts with state rules.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, motion carries. This brings us to item number 6. This is a public hearing on rezoning from residential multifamily to low-density RMF LD to corridor commercial. This is at 2704, 2710, 2696 Richlands Highway. So Jeremy Smith, a senior planner, will be presenting this item. Jeremy.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of City Council. As stated, agenda item 6 is a rezoning request submitted by B.R. Morton LLC for 3 tracts of land located at 2704, 2710, and 2696 Richlands Highway. Notice on the screen before you the vicinity map, noting the location near the IHOP in Freedom Village, the Aldi, Murphy Express, and the Castrol Oil across Richlands Highway. This property is currently zoned residential multifamily low density, or these 3 properties, and the properties across Hickory Road and across Richlands Highway and directly to the east are also zoned or are zoned corridor commercial. Properties to the north in the Hickory Hills subdivision are zoned residential multifamily low density. The CAMA land use identifies the property as neighborhood commercial, and the proposed corridor commercial zoning that B.R. Morton is submitted for is supported by the CAMA land use plan. This is what the property would look like on the city GIS maps if rezoned. The City Planning Advisory Board reviewed this at their monthly meeting last Monday, January 9th, and them, along with staff, are requesting approval of this rezoning request with findings of fact A through J being found in the affirmative, and that the rezoning advances the public interest by creating more development opportunities. Staff, along with representatives from Tidewater and Associates, the surveyor for the applicant, are available for any questions.
Any questions of Mr. Smith there?
Thank you.
All right, we're going to recess the regular council meeting, open the public hearing on this matter. Anyone wish to respond to this matter, please indicate by raising your hand. No hands. Close the public hearing. Council, you're being asked to approve the proposed request.
Mr. Mayor, I make a motion that since this change is supported by CAMA and A through J have been found in the affirmative, that we approve the zoning change as presented.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Okay. So that brings us to item number 7. This is a report from the Jacksonville Youth Council, and I will yield the floor to whoever's going to make that presentation. Please state your name and address for the clerk.
Before I begin, I would like to invite the members of the Jacksonville Youth Council to come up here and introduce themselves.
My name is Kyrie Allen. I am in the 10th grade and I go to Northside High School.
My name is Caleb Ingram. I am in 9th grade and I go to Jacksonville High School.
Good afternoon. My name is Raphael Evans. I'm a 9th grader and I go to Lejeune High School.
Good afternoon. My name is Teddy Taylor and I'm in the 9th grade at Jacksonville High School.
Good afternoon. My name is Adam Evans and I'm a senior at Lejeune High School.
He's my former student.
Good evening. My name is Zena Mosey, and I'm a freshman at Jacksonville High School.
Hi, my name is Mackie Mosey, and I am a junior at Parrott Academy. That is in Kinston.
Good afternoon, and thank you all for that. My name is Morgan McCrae. I'm a senior at Jacksonville High School and currently the student body president, and I'm the council chairperson of the Jacksonville Youth Council. So I'm going to be giving a presentation on Jacksonville Youth Council. How did JYC become to be? So high school students wanted to have a voice in local government. We attended a community summit, and the Youth Council formed a cooperation with the Onslow County School Board. I am going to go over some of what makes the Jacksonville Youth Council, but first I'm going to give my introduction and why I wanted to be a part of Jacksonville Youth Council. You might hear me refer to JYC, and JYC just stands for Jacksonville Youth Council, but I'll kind of use them interchangeably. So I joined JYC because of my interest in politics and wanting to be engaged in my community. I enjoyed the way JYC gave me an opportunity to see my local government function and relate it to the national government. JYC has given me numerous experiences and opportunities, and I've stayed in JYC because of these opportunities, and I continue to get the experiences that I get because I am a member on the council. Those who do not attend should be aware of the real world life experience and volunteer and outreach opportunities inside and outside of their communities that they're probably missing out on, especially if they're not a member of the council. These are just more of how JYC came to be, and I'm going to get more into all of that. Practice governance. So JYC practices government by running like we're you guys, basically. So each of us kind of have a role. We have to play that role. In JYC, I've learned about the leadership positions, and I've learned about each role and what they do. JYC has taught me how to hold a leadership position and how to fulfill the roles that I have as a member. Helping charities. JYC has helped multiple charities and organizations. We often donate to the Chew program, which this is a picture of a holiday Chew drive. And then here's another one. This is just volunteering with Onslow Community Outreach. We frequently donate and frequently volunteer, and becoming a part of the council has helped me find that more important. So that's just grown something to be more important to me, giving back to my community, reaching out and volunteering to help the people around me. Save the community. This is, again, just another outreach opportunity that I have been given as a member of the Youth Council. This is an elder yard cleanup. And then this is Stamp Out Hunger. This is just another food drive, another time Jacksonville Youth Council has served the community. Supporting local businesses. This was at a holiday social, Bring It On Esports. Bring It On Esports was like a video game arcade that you could go to and we would play games. We had social events there and we've hosted other events like senior send-offs, which we do at the end of every year. MLK Day of Service. JYC participated in this event along with the Unity March, which was held on Monday. I did see some of you guys there yesterday. That was nice. And then there's a picture of that. We started here at City Hall and we marched to the courthouse. We marched in honor of Dr. King's dream and just marching to keep it alive. JYC stands in observance of hope. So we have held multiple events like this in the past. We've done gun violence, bullying, and it's just to raise awareness for the need of change that we see in our community and the communities around us. Yeah, this is a bullying awareness event, just us in the community again. That is me with Teddy. This was on the front of the calendar, and like I've gotten so many pictures that I'm up there. It was nice. This is another event. This is back with the JYC Observance of Hope. This was us speaking out against school violence. This is another event, JYC How to Stop and Speak Out Against School Violence. All right, so this was a really cool event to me. We partnered with JPD, and they were teaching us about how to interact with law enforcement officers. We were able to discuss public safety and law enforcement interaction. This was helpful to break any negative stigma around law enforcement, especially with teenagers, as we see that a lot. Creating opportunities for high school students. This was the teen volunteer and job fair across the street at our center. This event is able to help spark youth to be able to pick up on opportunities that they might be missing out on. Again, volunteer. This goes with SAT hours and being able to find your career, possibly. This is the flyer for that. Elevator pitch, just another opportunity, being able to grow your portfolio. This was our Mayor's Youth Leadership Summit. This gave us an event to interact with our youth, with our local officials, and a stepping stone to careers for people. This was another senior send-off. This was one that we did across the street at our personal building. This is youth advocates. So JYC often hosts fun events. We say work hard, play hard. This was our senior send-off event, and this was our holiday parade. This was our holiday parade. This one is JYC as members and youth advocates. We're always out in our community participating in parades or events. This is one of those parades. And then this is a youth summit. This isn't the mayor youth summit. This is just our own youth summit. And Harmony. So I'm now going to pass it over to Ms. Trafton for her to pick up and give you guys a little bit on what Harmony is.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. So to jump in, Harmony stands for Helping All Reach More Options Through New Youth Givers. And the great thing about this program is it's been in existence over 10 years. We had a pause due to our COVID season, but now we're ready to bring this program back into action with the budget discussion that we have forthcoming. The purpose with Harmony is it allows our youth council members to actually work with other youth organizations that are helping to reach out to other youth as well. This past year in 2020, we had a request of over $7,500 from other youth organizations that are trying to reach the youth in the community as well. So they're tapping into with our youth council. And by doing so, our youth council members that are part of Harmony, They actually run the Harmony program just like we run the program with our nonprofits. They have a consultant that will come out and teach them about the nonprofit given, what it means to be a contributor and being able to answer questions. The Youth Council will then draft an application for the youth organizations to apply and ask for funding. And then the Youth Council takes it a step above and actually interview those youth organizations to find out exactly what are they asking the funds for and how are they impacting other youth in the community that our Youth Council cannot reach out to specifically. And in this past year, you'll see that we've given out over $3,000 to these youth organizations to be able to carry their funding forth into the community. And I'll turn it back over to Ms. Morgan.
JYC has mentored young students and influenced others. JYC has served the community throughout public service projects and charity work. The council has been a symbol for youth governments and a voice for the youth in our community. Thank you.
Mayor. Thank you, Chairperson McCray. I've enjoyed my opportunity to be with you guys from time to time. And keep in mind, these are also your meetings, so feel welcome to come out here anytime. Decisions we make aren't just for today, it really affects more of the future. And hopefully, I know you guys will go off to do very extraordinary things, but hopefully, many of you will return back home to help move Jacksonville forward. But anytime, these are your council folks. This is your mayor. So anytime you all would like to speak out to us about what we're doing good and what you think we're doing wrong, you have that opportunity as well. But thank you. You did a great job.
Thank you.
Thank you. How many people do we have in our youth council now? Pam?
So at this time, we currently have about 15 students. We are definitely in the process of recruiting. So I'll let this be a public plea to those in attendance that we are definitely looking for all high school students. Actually, I've opened it up to 8th graders as well because I would love for them to be able to have that introduction to the Youth Council. Good. And so any students from 8th through 12th are more than welcome to attend us. We meet the first Wednesday of every month at 5:30 p.m. right here in council chambers. And as I look out into the audience, I have alumnus of Youth Council. Would you please stand?
No.
So it goes to show that in our 20 years, our youth council members do come back and help out, but also be able to help make that impact within the community. So please come out and see us the first Wednesday of every month.
Thank you, Pam. That brings us to our report section for this evening, and I'm going to start down with Mr. Jackson tonight. And
Okay, thank you, Mayor. I would like, first of all, to let everybody know we've been creating an organization called Jacksonville Onslow Welcome Home Council. And what it is a reentry program. And we are actually, a lot of our local nonprofits are getting together to create this program for persons that's coming back home from being incarcerated. We're working with Mayor Morton, which is up in the Newport Correctional Facility, who has been recognized as the Warden of the Year for the country for some of the things he's implemented at Newport. When we went to meet, and we have Mr. Michael Narelski, who's actually the chairperson of that organization. And we've had the opportunity, and I think we're going back actually on Thursday to talk to the warden, where it was an incredible opportunity. I wouldn't expect to have the type of conversation that I had with him, or what we had with him, where he talked about, he actually notices the so-called inmates, which is our returning citizens, as our neighbors. Because that's what's going to happen when they do come out of being in the penitentiary. There are our neighbors. And he actually gives them the opportunity to get their IDs, the government IDs, before they get out, where he dresses them in civilian clothes. He'll actually send a law enforcement officer out with him or in the civilian clothes, and they'll get his ID. One of the impediments when people are coming out of being incarcerated is getting your ID, and you need that before you could get any services of any kind. So it actually offers an opportunity to get them ahead of the ball game on that end. As we're working on this process, we're hoping to bring as many nonprofits together. So not only do we help those that are incarcerated, but we're also helping the families. And actually, I would like to talk to the Youth Council about your ideas. And I'll work with connecting with Ms. Trafton and coming out to tell me what you think about some of your experiences and understanding the families that's been affected by this. But I'm proud to say that the state has been greatly surprised because, and Mr. Nareski, when did we start? When did we actually have our first meeting?
Months ago, I think, about 6 months ago.
And they're saying we're where a lot of other organizations would have been in 18 months. So we're looking at funding. We've actually reached out. I know Blue Cross Blue Shield is working with us to provide funding. So, and last week, through one of our meetings with the House of Rayford, we actually created a work program so individuals can actually start working as regular employees, and instead of getting that $1 an hour or $1 a day or 50 cents a day, they're actually getting a regular income. They're starting out at $13 an hour, and they could get benefits when they get out. They can actually have employment when they get out. The money is actually put to the side for them, so once they do get out, they do have money to bring back home, which is a great opportunity for them. But it's our first bus went out. I think we had 15 people on that bus, and we're growing. So House of Rayford had actually set aside, said 200 jobs. We have people probation and parole that's actually started. We will start with the prison probably 1st of February. Yeah, where we'll actually go out to the prisons and take individuals out there. So we're moving forward with that program. And I like to thank all the nonprofits and Tracy with the city, Ms. Jackson. Thank you for all you all have done. And anybody that wants to be involved with it, reach out to us. You know, bring your nonprofits, because the more we do have involved in this process, the more success we can ensure for those that are coming home. Thank you.
Mr. Sosa.
I have no reports. Happy to be here. Thank you.
Mayor Pro Tem Bittner.
I couldn't help but think about, after reviewing the report of the Youth Council, one recurring theme in terms of their activities and accomplishments. Our future's in pretty good hands, I think.
Yes, sir.
That's all I have.
Thank you. Dr. Washington.
No report, sir.
Ms. Edwards.
No report, but I'll amen to the compliment to the Youth Council. You all presented yourself extraordinarily professionally, and you are doing great things in our community already, so we're very blessed to have you. Thank you.
I'll add my gratitude to y'all for the same things, and but I want to specifically call out Mike. Thank you for moving to our community. We were blessed when you did so, and thank you. I appreciate what you've done. Your work with Town Center, and now your work with the people that are trying to get reentry back into society. Thank you so much.
Mr. Ray.
Thank you, Mayor. Very exciting opportunity tonight when we look at our One City moment. I think our Youth Council is an excellent example. We heard we had 4 schools represented from 9 to 12th grade, which is incredible. And I will throw out my thanks to Ms. McCrae for being such a quality presenter. So I'm just going to hold this here if you want it. I'll hand it to you and you can do my presentation for quality purposes. At any point, just stop me. But Mayor, we have a couple options here, which is kind of great. We'll start out with this No Shave November by our fire department. A lot of people think this is just something we like to do for fun and to have our fire chief grow out his maverick look, or I'm not sure what he had going on there, but it's so pretty. It's more than just that, Mayor. It's an opportunity for our fire department to reach out to community organizations. So there's a fun aspect to it, but also there's the give back aspect. And this year, the fire department, through No Shave November, donated $600 to the Joyful Heart Deliveries. And so that's an awesome outreach for them. But typically, when they do this event, they're looking at awareness for male cancer screenings. They're giving back to local charities. And again, it's just to allow that, the beauty that you see on the screen. That goes back to our Facebook post. I don't remember who won. Which number won, Chief? Number two, and I don't know how you can't win. So it's phenomenal, but
Makes it look intimidating.
it's just good time by one and all. So that just shows you part of what we do here in the community. Up close and personal. This is the before and after.
Oh, wow.
You may not recognize them, but if it wasn't for the axe, they would look totally different. So here you see the give back, which is the big part of what the fire department's doing. Not only do they give back every single day, but they give back here in this special occasion. This guy right here, who we just learned is a member of our youth council, this is our fire marshal. Chief Brian Kelly was just elected by his peers to be the president of the North Carolina Fire Marshal Association for the year. So just want to say congratulations. He stands there at that truck daily, so if you need to take a picture with him, he'll be there for photo ops, so thank you, Chief Kelly. But the value there is, Mayor and Council, these are our leaders out in the community representing us throughout the state, much like what our council does throughout the country. Chief Kelly has taken on that role, and it is a daunting task to lead and to be elected by your peers. You don't just get that by showing up or not showing up to a meeting, which happens. He was elected by his peers for his knowledge and for his skills and asset to that organization. Yesterday, we did have the opportunity to recognize the Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Day of Celebration. And as Ms. McCrae had pointed out, you see our youth council leading the organization. You also see Ms. Trafton, who was there not only representing the youth council, but representing some colors there with a lot of pride. And that event was phenomenal to see multiple people throughout the community be present. You see Chief Yanero standing front and center because there's a value there for not just a chief, but for our city as a complete staff to be part of an organization and some representation that is bigger than who we are. Just like in the proclamation earlier, Mayor, that was presented in red, there's value in our community for items that are bigger than we are on a daily basis. And yesterday's march was phenomenal in itself. You may recognize someone there posing for the picture, and Miss Edwards. So there's some greatness there. I do want to mention the Keeping the Dream Alive Committee. That's the group that puts this together every year. I think it's Miss Mary that leads not only by example, but with authoritative direction. Oh, yeah. And so to bring everybody together and allow people to celebrate and remember, and again, as Ms. McCrae so eloquently pointed out, to keep the dream alive. There's a value there. There's smiles for a reason. It's because people are allowed to be together in public to not only protest or speak in encouragement, but to share belief systems. And that's the value of what we have. So we're appreciative of that. It shows our city in its best. And the good Lord looked out for us by giving us great weather yesterday to allow us to have fellowship together. This group right here, Mayor, this is members of our transit team. They did something in the last couple of weeks that's incredible. They invited students from the Northside High School Occupational Preparatory Program. There's a lot of letters there. Just go with it. It's what it is. So the interesting thing is, as we point out to our team, this is something that's above and beyond what they typically do in a transit day. So it's not something that they're directed to go out and have an outreach, but they went with these students, they met with the students, they talked to them about transit, about what our transit system can provide individuals, from students to any ages whatsoever how you can get around the community. You can use our transit system, obviously, for work, for play, and for multiple factors. But our transit team brought in the students, gave them a ride on the 102 line, and then when they finished, they gave them 2 free round-trip passes. So then in the future, not only do the kids know what they can access, they have those passes. So they have a direct, tangible opportunity to get back on the buses, to get around our community. And that's, you'll see Alric, Chris, and Faith Hartley all there in our pictures. And I just think that's an awesome opportunity for us to bring them together. Here's some of our students inside of our station, our depot, basically just giving us that opportunity to share what we do with members of our community. Mayor, so much going on in our Jacksonville, from the proclamation tonight to our youth council to the many events to the council having care for the people in this community and taking the time to listen. We're lucky to be here. We're lucky to be a part of the team, and it's a privilege to be able to present these items to you tonight. Thanks, Mayor.
Okay.
No report, Mayor.
Okay. All right, this time we'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed.